Hi everybody, it's Robbie. I know I did a video on what I was going to do before about how to set up my tub. Well, this is the tub I'm going to set up in my yard, in this corner back here, out of the way, but it's going to be a tub not to grow in. I have my compost in place containers everywhere, and what I wanted a container that I can put stuff in that I'm not sure where I want to put it. You got spring coming, I'm not quite planting that much stuff yet. So what I did, and I'm going to explain on the holes, how important it is to have the holes, because you must have drainage or you will lose your critters. So here I'm going to explain how I set up the tub with the holes, which you could use a drill or even a soldering iron if you didn't have a drill. For plastic, it works great. So you can make the holes, whatever's easier and whatever you've got best for you. You can use a drill, which will make nice round holes, get a little plastic there, but that's okay. You just dust off the plastic. You make sure you sweep it up, throw it in the trash. You don't want the plastic bits and pieces in your garden. Or you can use the soldering iron. The soldering iron, you don't need a drill. For some people that are maybe in apartments and don't need a bunch of tools or whatever, you can just get a simple soldering iron. You know, they're under $10 and they last for years. And with the soldering iron, you can make round circles, or you can make long strips of holes. See the holes you can make? Even like this one. Let me show you here the flower pot. See the flower pot here? I can make the holes long. Sometimes I like making the holes kind of a rectangle length like that, because if it's sitting on the ground and tree roots get into holes that are round, like these holes over here, I've had tree roots actually block the holes up when they go inside. They'll block the holes up, and then you'll have pots that are not draining, and you'll wonder why if they're sitting on the ground, and you'll pull the pots up and the tree roots filled up the holes so they could gather as much water as they want at any time in your pots. But usually when it's long like that and you're making odd shaped holes in the bottom of your pots, they don't tend to do it as much. The other thing too, just in case, is you can put some holes on the side for composting bins like this. So if anything does happen and it doesn't drain out of the bottom, they get blocked, you will still have holes on the side because nothing's going to go in there and block it up. And this way your worms, your microbes, anything in there will not drown. That's the whole, idea. If it fills with water, they'll either drown, or if it's outside, they'll simply leave, and then you'll lose your worms. They may come back when it dries up, but they may not. So either way works. A drill, you can always make a bunch of holes if you wanted to too and make bigger holes, or a soldering iron. I use both. I go back and forth. Now to start this, just to set it up in the beginning, I'm going to put some shredded paper, some paper towel rolls and toilet paper rolls. The reason I like this is on the bottom, when the worms come in, they have places that they can hide in. It won't be just hard, compacted soil. So think of an ant farm. They'll have places to move around. So that's that. And then also shredded paper. So if you don't want to use shredded paper, don't use shredded paper. This is stuff that comes in with our address and stuff that we get rid of, and Gary shreds all that. And so instead of throwing it and sending that to the landfill, I use it. Now, what I'm also going to do is I've been collecting, yesterday I collected a bunch of leaves around the garden, and I put everything in here. It doesn't matter how bad the leaves look, if they've got, mildew on it, powdery mildew. It doesn't matter. It all goes in here. It will all break down. The worms will eat everything that's on there, and even if there's some aphis on there or other critters, they're going to disappear. because the birds will come and different other animals, you know, critters and other insects will eat them. So they're all going to disappear. Now, if you don't want to put it in and you want to throw it away in the trash, go ahead and throw it in the trash. This is the way I do it. It doesn't mean you have to do it that way. I'm just trying to give you ideas on maybe what might or might not work for you. Now this is why I'm using a red tub. We keep a bucket next to the sink, and our eggshells go in there, our banana peels go in there, coffee grinds go in there, everything goes in there. I don't have a problem except for the dogs like to try to get in here to get the banana peels. They love bananas. But this is, you know, sometimes I have it and I'll tell Gary, oh, go drop it in one of my bins if I'm in a hurry. Usually I do it myself. And then it's like, well, which one? I couldn't number them, but there's so many dozens now showing up and more showing up all the time that I would never have bins in order. So I may have a 3 here and a 30 here, and so I figured I had one red tub. It's the only red tub that I know of that I've got on the property, and I bought it and I haven't used it, so I'm going to set up the red tub. This way, if I'm having a party here and the kids say, oh, we don't like this, we're going to throw it in the trash. No. Go throw it in the red tub outside. So I know that the red tub is for whatever I don't know where I want to put it. Basically, that's what the whole thing's about, is I'm not sure, let's see, where I want to put it. I'm going to move some of this stuff out of the way. So now I've got leaves in here. Remember, I do not turn. Now I have leaves in here, paper towel rolls in here. I've got stems in here, onion peels, eggshells. Whatever goes in my compost bucket is now in here. What's really good though, is as this breaks down, if I decided to plant something in a smaller pot and put it somewhere in the yard, I can shovel some of this out. I don't have to turn it, but I could just shovel some of it out and put it in a pot, and then I could grow something somewhere else. Or if I started a container, another compost in place container, and it wasn't full enough and I was ready to plant, let's say, zucchini or something in it, then I could just take it from here and then continue to build this up. So it was kind of like a starter, even though, let's face it, a zucchini may come up in here and I may leave it, end up growing it in here. But for now, a lot of you are in winter and you're not ready to plant, but you want to save this. You don't want to throw your kitchen scraps away. Whatever you do, you don't want to throw that away, even in the winter. You could set up a tub somewhere away from the house, just set up a tub and keep all that. It doesn't matter if you don't have any insects coming to it right now or any birds in the area. It's just going to sit, and even if it rots, it's perfect. Even if it rots, once spring comes and it warms up, it's going to be absolutely perfect. So you don't throw it. This is gold. You don't throw it away. Now, I've had some people ask me, what do you do about rodents or insects or other animals? The hummingbirds do come, hover around, and they take the little insects, like the little fruit flies. I don't really have that many problems that I've noticed with rodents, and I haven't even had any roaches get in here. I don't know if they can't climb the plastic, but let's talk about dogs. Some people said they have dogs. And here's some more. See? This is what happens. I end up with so much kitchen scraps that I really don't know where to put it. So right now this is perfect. If you've got dogs, and it's only dogs you're worried about, you can get some heavy type of cover, like a wire. See, and this is big and it's heavy. And cut it to fit and put it that fits inside the tub. This is only for dogs. This won't keep rodents away. And then also, let's see what else I got back here. Same thing here. If you don't have a big one, you can always use something smaller. But again, this may keep rabbits out, but it may not keep mice or rats out if they get in here. Okay. And then the other thing you can do is get 1/4-inch wire. Nothing is going to get in the 1/4-inch wire. You can get that at the hardware store. Just get a piece enough to fit in. And if it doesn't fit perfect, you've got scraps, cut it into pieces and just lay it in there. So 1/4-inch wire will keep everything out. It will probably even keep your roaches out to a point. But it will keep out mice and rats and possums and your dogs and everything. I'm going to go with 1/2 by 1. And see, this will fit in here perfect. And if you don't want to touch it, let's say you got your kids going out there and they don't want to touch it, so make a handle. Take some wire. Here's some wire I found in the garage. Hopefully Gary wasn't using it for anything. It looked like such nice wire. Just twist it on. You don't have to get fancy, but you can get fancy if you want. That's it. Now, look at this. I have a piece of wire that I can lay on the top, and it's covering everything. You'll still have the birds hovering around and looking for insects, but that's what you want. You want the birds to come and look for that. You want that. The other thing is, if you feel that it smells, once it starts to break down, it won't smell. Oh, you know, before I do this, I do want to explain one thing. When you start your tubs and you're putting your food matter in here, anything on the top is not actually breaking down. If it is open and it's like this, the air is getting to it, it's not really breaking down. It's going to make a cover, basically, for the matter that's underneath, even like a 1/2 inch underneath. But the very, very top isn't really doing anything yet. The next time you dump, then this top goes underneath, and then it starts to break down. Just keep that in mind. So the very top will get dried out, even though you're watering it. It doesn't break down that quick. If you wanted it to break down quicker, and you're thinking you're going to be planting in it fairly soon, or you want it, maybe it smells to you and you feel like it smells a little bit, and this also will deter some rodents. You can get some wood chips. You can get shavings, animal bedding shavings. You can use grass clippings and just put that on the top. Okay. And right away, I'll tell you, some of those buckets were sitting there and they really stunk. I can't smell it. Oh my goodness, now it smells like the wood chips. It smells good. So now, by putting the layer of wood chips in here, the top layer of food matter is now breaking down as part of your compost. And then what you can do in the meantime is put your wire on top if you're going to use wire. And because, yes, I know a dog can lift it up and take it away, what I would do is get a pot with a plant in it, preferably, and put a pot on top. Now you've got it weighed down. You're not going to have raccoons come and move everything. You can put one pot, you can put multiple pots, and then when you come back in a few days to dump in some more, you just move the pots out. The pots are going to work double duty, triple duty. When you're watering your pot, this has got some mint in it and some walking onions in it, you don't have to water the compost. You don't have to water the compost bin at all. You're going to water the pot really good. It will leach out of the pot and go into the compost matter that you've got going on in there. Because this is on the ground, the worms are going to come up. They're going to find this. They know. They smell it. Whatever. They know. And they're going to come into the holes that are on the bottom of this tub. Not necessarily the ones that are on the side. The side are just protection in case this floods, to make sure that you don't lose your worms. But they will come through the bottom and they will go inside and eat everything. If this thing filled up with water accidentally, something happened, major rainstorm, the kids left a hose in here and left it on or whatever, the worms would have a place to gravitate because there's holes. Whatever pot you put on top, make sure there are holes underneath. The worms will go immediately to the pot that's in there and go into the pot. This pot cannot flood. Whatever's in this pot is going to run out. So they have another place to live. The worms have another place, the microbes too, another place to live. They have another place to move. They have another place to just go in and out of. So I really, really like putting pots on top. So not only is it holding your wire down if you choose to use wire, I don't, but I might leave the wire in here for now. It's holding the wire, it's also feeding your compost bin. Remember, water is life, so the compost bin needs to have water in it. There's got to be some sort of water, so you got to water it just like it's a plant. You always think of your compost bins as a plant. So even though I'm not using this right now to grow in, I'm still going to keep the bin watered because I want the microbes to live. They need water. They don't want a lot of water because they're not swimming in it. You don't want them swimming in it, but you want to keep this damp. And that's basically it. I've had a lot of people ask about rodents and insects. You want the insects. The insects are nature. When you bring insects, you bring the birds. The birds eat these insects, believe it or not. The hummingbirds eat it. Your little tiny little songbirds eat it. Don't worry about the insects. This isn't bothering your plants. What's in here is gold because this is what your plants are going to thrive on. But for me, this is just an extra compost bin that's going to go in this corner. I'm going to just keep going. If it fills up, I may start another one. As the compost is breaking down, it does break down. It gets shorter. So being that it's halfway, let's say right now, if I didn't add any more, it would drop lower and lower. It just naturally drops lower. But this is it. If you wanted to, you could even put a paver on top. I mean, you could cover it, but then you're really sealing it up. If you want to put the cover and put a whole bunch of holes in, let's say this had a red cover that came with it, and I want to make holes with my soldering iron or whatever, you could do that too. That is fine. I like leaving mine open. I like seeing the birds come in here and hanging around the edge and feeding on it. I like to make sure the worms are more like natural, like the ground, that they've got a nice place to be. But again, everybody does it on their own. If you wanted to cover it and let it just sit and rot all winter, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it rots. It's still going to make the greatest compost. The greatest. The main thing is you don't throw it away. You can't buy that stuff. You know what's in it. You know what foods you were eating. You know what went into this bucket. And that's the main thing. Everything goes in here. You cook something, it sat in the fridge, it got rotten, you forgot about it, got pushed to the back, you put it in your bucket, you put it in your compost bin. It doesn't matter if it's cereal, uncooked rice, you found something in it, you didn't want to do anything with it. Banana peels, fruit that rotted, something that freezer burned in your freezer, all goes in here. If you want to use meat, the cover will work really good then, because this way it will deter other animals from trying to get in there. This will keep cats out too. You won't have to worry about cats using anything because cats don't like wire. So if you got a cat problem, that's all there is to it. But this is what I'm setting up for me. I now have a bin that instead of having those bins that you buy and you turn or you set up a whole bunch of them and you rotate all that, I'm not into that. I am not saying don't get into it. I think it's wonderful if you want to get into it. I'm not into that. I'm into layering and layering and layering. Yes, I will disturb this when I take some of it out and put it in something else, but it will reset up because when I move it in here, let's say I wanted to plant a tomato plant in here, I wanted to make holes, really big holes on the bottom and sit the plant on the ground knowing that the plant's going to grow, the roots are going to leave, go into the ground, but I wanted it to have a good start because I've showed you in my other videos how I use pots for everything. It's kind of like a raised bed. You put whatever you want on the bottom in here and take out of here and then put your potting soil or just use that or some native soil if you've got really good native soil in some areas. A lot of times when you dig around your pots, your flower pots, you'll find all kinds of earthworms and everything around your flower pots. Well, that is just great soil. You can use that, but you can buy potting mix, whatever you want to buy. And if you didn't have wood chips, by the way, or something to cover it, you wanted to cover it for smell, you can go get cheap potting mix or garden soil, and you could do the same thing. Throw a small layer on top, not the whole bag, just a small layer on top after you put all your stuff in it. It will sweeten it up too. So you can use cheap garden soil. So either one of that, will work. But this is going to be great to add into a pot and then plant my plants and keep adding it in. Like I said, I will be disturbing it by moving it, but that's okay. It's your garden. It's my garden. I can disturb it. It will just reset up and start over. But I'm not turning this. I'm just building this up until I'm ready to know where I want this to go. Usually I have an idea when I come out here where I'm going to put this. I dump it like this one. This is going to need to be freshened up. This tomato from last spring is making a comeback, and we're in winter. So I'm going to be adding in there too. But there's a lot of times I want to make sure I've got some good compost starting. And this is where it's going to be. So you'll see it on my garden tour. I'm going to stick it back here. It will be out of the way, and I can easily water it as I'm going through the garden. I can keep an eye on it. Maybe I'll go ahead and leave the wire on top for now, and the wire will just go up as it goes up. And like I said, you put a flower pot on top. That will hold everything down, and nothing's getting in there. Not even a coyote will get in there. They're not going to bother. Put 2 flower pots, or a stepping stone, or a big brick, or nothing. But it's your garden, so you want to do what you want to do with it. So that's my thing. I hope I gave you some ideas on what to do with your compost in the winter when you're not planting it. All I say, do what you want, but don't throw it away. This stuff that you've got in the kitchen that you're saving or you're putting outside is gold. That is gold. The microbes come to that. The earthworms come to it. They leave their castings in it as they're feeding on everything. You don't want to throw that away. The main thing is find a place where you can store it and use it. And then make sure, no matter what, you water it. I talked to my brother the other day, and he didn't have any wood chips. He took some from us, but he lives in LA, and so I'm not out there to give him any more right now. But the thing is, he covered his with newspaper. So that's a thought too. You could just put some newspaper on top if you wanted to, and then drop your wire on or don't use wire. So whatever you want to cover it with, and the newspaper will break down as well. So I think I've given you some ideas, and if not, ask. I hope you got something from it. Like I said, everybody needs to grow something. I really feel that, even if it's just herbs to make some herb tea, or parsley to add to a salad, or to a sandwich, or whatever. I think it's really important to grow something. And kids need to grow things too. They need to start understanding where their food comes from, not just out of a can. So with that, you'll see this on my garden tour, all set up, breaking down, doing its thing until spring. See you soon. Thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye, everybody, and don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye-bye. I had to rush to finish the video in the garden because I needed to fill the feeders, because hundreds more showed up again today. Yesterday, there weren't as many, so they must have kept going, and today, hundreds. Is that amazing? Well, at least I got the video done, and the hummingbirds got their food.